This is Girl Stop Playin, a weekly show that empowers Black women to stop playing with their potential so they can live a life that they love. I'm Koereyelle, your favorite homegirl, and I'm on a mission to help Black women make the money and get the honey. You can have it all as long as you're willing to work. Welcome back to another episode of the Girl Stop Playin podcast. It's your favorite homegirl, Koereyelle, here to encourage you to stop playing with your potential and start working for what you want in life and in love. You already know that I'm bringing you the information and the conversations to help you make the money and get the honey. You can have it all as long as you are willing to work. And on today's episode, as always, I have a very special working woman joining us virtually. Welcome to Girl Stop Playin, Mrs. Jamesa Bailey.
Hey, thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. Okay, so we're going to be talking about a topic that is super important for moms. Okay, so if you are a pre-mom, a current mom, a mama to be, a bonus mama, if you know somebody with a baby, make sure that you get ready to share this episode. And you're probably going to want to get a notebook out because I'm sure Jamesa is going to be dropping some gems. So, Jamesa, I know that you are I consider you, I don't know if you consider yourself, but I consider you to be a sleep expert. Okay, a sleep superhero is what I like to call you. And I have literally told anybody who I ever hear complaining about their child's sleep patterns or sleep routine or co-sleeping or any of the things, you are the first person I think of. You're the first person I refer them to. And so talk a little bit about what sleep training is. And are you a sleep expert? What's your official title?
Yes. Well, first, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that. And I just appreciate all of your support throughout the year that we've been knowing each other. So, my official title is a certified pediatric sleep consultant. I do not consider myself a sleep expert. And usually, what I like to call myself is an infant and toddler sleep coach.
I love it. Okay, so how did you get into this? Because I think this is, first of all, as a mom and obviously, a client, a two-time client, somebody who has, hired you and taken full advantage of your services. I know the benefit of it. But before becoming a mom, I didn't know that like sleep training was a thing. I didn't know that a sleep consultant was a thing. How did you end up getting into this work?
Yeah, so I was tired. So with my oldest son, Camden, I did know a little bit about sleep. So with Camden, he is my kind of miracle baby, right? So I had been diagnosed with unexplained fertility, and I was able to, with the help of a fertility specialist, to get pregnant, and I was just so excited. And then when I got to my third trimester, I was just bombarded with all of these like little, things that people say to new moms. Oh, you better sleep now because when the baby comes, you won't sleep. And it just kind of put a damper on me. I was just so excited to even be a mom. And, people were kind of with that coming through with that unsolicited advice. So from day one, I took all the courses, I did taking care of babies and, read about wake windows, and I was doing pretty good until my son Camden, he got his first tooth at 3.5 months. And we hit the 4 month sleep regression. And the week that he turned 4 months, I was due back to work. Camden was waking up like every hour. He was taking those like 30 to 40 minute little cat naps. And I was exhausted. I was also exclusively breastfeeding. It just was a lot on me. And so I actually did a search and I was like, my baby won't sleep. And sleep consultants came up. And I actually found a Black sleep consultant by the name of Steffi with Jolie Sleep Consulting. And I reached out to her and she told me she could help me. And I was like, okay, I'm not getting any sleep. What's the worst that can happen? And she changed our lives. She really did. Sleep training. Of course, I knew that there wasn't anything wrong with it, but I also knew, that the internet has a lot of things, and is it cry it out? Is it kind of all these things? Sleep training literally just means that I taught Camden how to go to sleep independently, and when he woke up in the middle of the night, he went back to sleep independently, which meant that I didn't have to rock him or nurse him or hold him until he fell asleep. And so at the end of our 2 weeks working together, she was like, "Hey, I really liked working with you. You seem really knowledgeable already. What do you think about getting certified? We need more Black women in this space." And I thought about it. I scheduled a call with her instructor, and it just seemed like a really good opportunity for me. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and it's just something that I have just been so passionate about. And so I took the plunge. I got certified through the Center for Pediatric Sleep Management. And over 2 years later, I'm here as my part-time business. I've helped over 100 families, including your boys, virtually all across the nation. I've had clients as far as California. And yeah, that's really pretty much how I got here and how I got introduced to sleep consulting.
I always find it so interesting that typically well, not even just successful entrepreneurs, usually you get started in entrepreneurship based on like your own need. Like you had a
Yes,
problem, you figured out a solution, and then you decided to share that solution with other people. That's typically how we got started. I'm gonna still call you a sleep expert though.
I'll
Your
take it.
client, your clients consider you a sleep expert, even if you can't say that based on certification and all of the things. You know your stuff, and sleep, the way that you kind of work with your clients, it almost feels like sleep is a science. And
It
I
is.
know for a lot of new moms, you mentioned like what the internet has to say about sleep training and all of the things. And, these mom groups, everybody is super opinionated. Everybody, whether we're talking about nursing, sleep training, vaccines, circumcision, there's like these topics that it's like they are so polarizing.
Yeah.
They you are on one side of the fence or the other, and sleep training is definitely one of those conversations where people almost com- think you're like abusing your child if
Yeah.
you do sleep training. And I think they are referring to, when they have those thoughts, they're referring to cry it out. So
Yes.
what is the difference between cry it out that they're thinking about and then kind of the method that you use?
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. I mean, honestly, it feels like a never-ending game that you can never win, right? Being a mom. If some people, like you said, you're nursing versus formula and all the things. When people think sleep training, the first thing they think of is cry it out and or abandoning your child. And cry it out, literally. So the technical definition of cry it out, it is a sleep training method. It's called extinction. And essentially, what you do is, after an age appropriate schedule, you put your little one down to sleep, and essentially, you don't go back and check on them until the morning. It sounds really aggressive, and, we don't discriminate. I personally do not use extinction with my clients, but a lot of people do, and they do it because it's really fast and it's really effective. And guess what? You and your baby are usually crying anyway whenever you're tired. But for me, I like a hands-on approach. And so, let's say a typical client, wants to work with me. I'll actually ask you in the sleep questionnaire how you feel about crying, right? Can you not stand any crying? Are you okay with some? Or, are you just totally fine with it? Some of my most popular methods are kind of like Ferber, but I don't really like Ferber, right? It's like time check-ins, but you are checking in when your little one needs the check-in, not based on the time. Another one that I have that's really effective with toddlers is called the chair method, right? Which allows you to sit in the room with your little one and provide as much physical and verbal confirmation for the first day. And then you gently kind of wean that independence of you being in the room and you get out of the room. And so there are different ways, even with, our little ones. I work with newborns too. There's a method that's called just sit, where you literally just sit, down in a chair. You hold your little one. You don't rock them. You just literally sit them and let them, naturally kind of drift off to sleep so they don't get used to that rocking and things like that. There are many methods. Unfortunately, cry it out or extinction is the one that everybody kind of knows. And what I like to tell my clients is this: if something in your home is not working, you have the right to change it, right? Like, people on the internet are always going to have something to say. There are people on the other side of the aisle that are like, why won't you sleep train your child, right? You have to do what is best for you. I always say that it is a small sacrifice for long-term gain. We sleep trained Camden when he was 4 months. He will be 3 next month. I have had a lot of issues, with being a toddler and going through regressions, but we have really never had a sleep problem with him. And I really think that's because of the foundation that we laid very early on, for him to be an independent sleeper. And so, again, your little one is usually very cranky anyway and crying. And I also was crying. And so I'm like, okay, what can I do to really change our dynamic here? And the process really is so quick. Usually by that night three, the little one is sleeping through the night, right? And so if you can just muster on for 3 nights, versus years of kind of no sleep. One of the things I like to say, just candidly, is no sleep doesn't have to be your life, sis. Like just because you are a parent doesn't mean that you are not worthy of sleep and rest and me time. And all of my clients know that our first goal is always to get your little one sleeping independently. But my second goal is always for parents, and particularly moms, to be able to get some me time, to be able to get time to be able to watch a show, time to be able to eat a meal in peace, to spend time with your partner if you have one. And so these are the benefits of sleep training. And to me, that kind of outweighs the noise that we see in those mom groups, which can be pretty intense.
It can be intense, but baby, what goes on the internet and what goes on in real life are two totally different things.
Exactly.
So I so much that you said, because I know when I started with you with Cairo, I was probably like your worst client ever, because
You were not.
I definitely struggled those first, I don't even think it was, I don't want to say those first few days, because I do think that by night 3, he was doing exactly what I think it was probably night 2. And I hit you up like, girl, he really did lay down, like he really is just sleep. But it's mind blowing, because until you meet an expert like yourself, you think we've been brainwashed to believe that your kids just don't sleep through the night. That's not something that happens until they're older. That's not even something that should be an expectation. And one thing that me and my husband always talk about is, these kids might be crazy during the day, but they gonna sleep at night. They don't give us any trouble at night. Once we lay them down, it's over. Even to the point where, the grandparents love keeping them because they don't have to get up in the middle of the night, versus their other grandkids. Sometimes they're like, he can't come over here because he's not gonna be sleeping through the night.
Exactly.
But these two, they gonna sleep. If they don't do nothing else, they are going to sleep. So it very much so is a small sacrifice on the front end for a major reward on the back end. What is the recommended age for sleep training? Because I know that you can consult. We did it like a consultation with you. I think I was still pregnant with Kenzo when we did it. But what is the actual age that you could actually start sleep training?
So sleep training, you want to do it around that 4-month range. So anywhere between 12 and 16 weeks is ideal. That being said, if you are a newborn mom or parent, or someone who's about to have a baby and they are worried about sleep, it's never too early to lay good sleep foundations. Obviously, we're not going to be sleep training your newborn, but we are going to be putting them on routines. We are going to be putting them on an age appropriate schedule, so that when it does, come time for that 12 to kind of 16-week mark, that it won't be so foreign to them, because you've kind of laid a really good foundation. But I work with newborn consults, but it's specifically for sleep training, 4-month-olds all the way up to 4-year-olds. And so toddler moms out there, it is not too late for you to also get the sleep that you need and deserve. But usually that's the sweet spot. My personal favorite to work with is 6 to 8 months. But I don't discriminate. 4 months to 4 years old. Yes.
You can work it out. When is it too late though? Because I have some homegirls that got like 5, 6-year-olds sleeping in the bed with them. What do you do at that point?
It's never too late. I have colleagues who, got certified through the same program with me. They work with older children. I particularly do not work with any children over the age of 4. But, I know some folks who work with 5-year-olds, 6, all the way up to age 10. When it comes to the older toddlers, or kind of, I don't even know what they're called after toddlers, to be honest with you. I'm not there yet. But it really is about establishing healthy boundaries. Boundaries is going to be the word for my toddlers, right? Your toddler is going to throw a tantrum. You have to be prepared for that. If you are a toddler mom like me, they're throwing a tantrum anyway. You might as well, listen, there are some days when I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait until bedtime, because I have just been through the ringer. But it's never too late. It's never too late. It just really is about maintaining and implementing those healthy boundaries. The truth is these children want to sleep, right? Like I've had some people that's like, oh, my child is very stubborn, or they say, oh, it's not going to work for us, or it's too late. It really is never too late to start to change, right? Think about how many of us go into the new year and say, okay, this year I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to gain weight. Like it just really all starts with a choice. But to answer your question, it's never too late. And if you do have an older child, even though I don't particularly work with them, I have a number of folks who do work with older children. So there is hope for you still.
That is good to hear. Because for sure, a lot of times or what I've heard is that older child is the older one, because you didn't know any better with the older one. So the older
Yep.
one has all those bad habits. The middle and the younger one, they usually just kind of get in line based on the lessons
Mhm.
that you learned. But y'all have hope, okay? If you have some
Yes.
older kids that are still struggling, definitely hit Jamesa up. In terms of just having the right mindset, because this is very much a mental thing
Yes.
for mom and dad, but for sure for mama. One of the things that I remember being concerned about with Cairo was nursing, because he
Yes.
was exclusively breastfed. He was, I was nursing him through the night because I was co-sleeping with him, obviously. So for moms who are like me and are thinking, okay, well, how can I sleep train if I nurse my baby? How ease their mind for that scenario, because you nursed your baby too.
Yes, yes, I did. So I exclusively fed Camden, breastfed him for 16 months. And whenever we did start the sleep training at 4 months, we didn't do weaning. I should have done weaning because at 4 months, Camden was 18 pounds. So he technically did not need a feed overnight. The recommendation is usually 14 pounds and or 6 months, whichever comes first. So he was a little ham. He technically did not need a feeding overnight. That being said, I felt most comfortable with him getting a feed still. And so when he would wake up, I would wait 10 minutes to see if he would get himself back to sleep. And if he didn't, I would go in, I would nurse him, and then I would put him back down wide awake, and he would get himself back to sleep. Right. Night weaning and sleep training are not the same thing. If want to continue to nurse your baby throughout the night, especially if they are on the smaller side, it's totally fine to do that. The key is to make sure that they go down awake and to give them time to see if they're really hungry or if they are transitioning sleep cycles, which usually happens in the middle of the night. I always recommend that my clients wait upon each waking at least 8 to 10 minutes to see if their child is truly hungry or if they're just transitioning sleep cycles. But our breastfeeding relationship was not impacted at all. I would say probably about 70% of my clients are breastfeeding, and a lot of them, like me, did exclusive breastfeeding where our little ones just didn't even take a bottle. And so I think that is where my heart really, really, kind of goes out to moms who are also breastfeeding too, because I was there. I remember getting up in the middle of the night and honestly side-eyeing my husband because he would still be asleep, and I was just so tired. And so if you are nursing, you do not have to jeopardize that nursing relationship with your little one for them to be able to get sleep. What happens usually is, like the situation you mentioned, when you do co-sleep and they're just snacking throughout the night. They're just snacking, snacking, snacking. They don't need the milk, but they are looking for that for comfort and to get themselves back to sleep. What we do is eliminate that dependency on your breast to be able to get themselves back to sleep because they have the tools to be able to get themselves back to sleep. And, you may wake up with, fuller boobs, but over time they will adjust. And your little one will still get the milk that they need throughout the day. It's just not over that nighttime period. I'll also say, and this is something that a lot of people do not really focus on, all of that nursing throughout the night, especially when your little ones start to develop teeth, actually can cause cavities because breast milk is really sugary. And that's why the dentist really wants us to be, starting to brush those little gums. You obviously want to brush the gums, but then when you see little teeth start to bud, you really want to make sure that you're cleaning them off because the breast milk is very sugary. And so it can cause cavities, especially for the older infants and toddlers who are still nursing throughout the night. And so not only are you saving your sanity, but you also are taking into consideration your children's teeth health as well.
Mhm. So are there any moms that this will not work for? Like, are there any, if you're, and I'm assuming y'all don't cancel me for this, but I know special needs is a wide
Mm,
range, the spectrum of special needs. So I don't want to say if like, can special needs children be sleep trained? Because special needs, what does that even mean? Like, there's a
Right.
wide gamut. But aside from special needs, are there any other scenarios that you feel like, okay, sleep training is probably not right for your family?
Honestly, it's usually not the children who pose the problem, it's the parents. If the parent does not feel comfortable with any crying, which I always find to be really strange because I don't know about y'all, but my kid just cries. Camden is at that age where if I beat him coming down the steps, he has a tantrum and cries because he says, "No, you beat me." And so our children, we have to remember that our children cannot speak, right? Or they're still kind of getting their wording together. And so they are going to cry as a way to communicate. It's not always, bad. Sometimes it's, I just don't understand this. But to answer your question, aside from special needs, sleep training doesn't work for everybody because some people just don't want to make the commitment. Unfortunately, I have had clients that I try to provide as much coaching. I even ask my clients what type of coaching they prefer. Do you prefer a more gentle method? Do you prefer kind of straight shot, no chaser for themselves? And I've had some clients who unfortunately just kind of quit after the first night because they just couldn't take it. And the thing was, their little one really wasn't crying intensely. It's just that they just did not like it at all. And if that is you, and if you are very, very sensitive about the crying, or if you are letting the internet kind of, deem what is best for you, then unfortunately, sleep training won't be successful for you because you're not committed. And I remember in the very beginning, I was doing things pro bono. And I had a couple people who just quit because they really didn't have, they didn't pay for it, and they just really were not mentally ready to start. And it's caused me to make some changes in my business. So even before we work together, I send you a very long email now with what you can expect so that you will know this is probably what happens on night 1. This will happen on night 2. This will happen on night 3. But and to be very candid, as a person who uses sleep consultant, we are usually the problem. Our little ones get on board very quickly. It is usually us. So if you are not mentally prepared to do this, then it's not going to work for you, and that's okay.
Oh, it was definitely me for sure. And that is why I really wanted to have you on the show to talk through this, because moms are literally suffering and
Yes.
struggling simply
Yes.
because we cannot get out of our own way. I was
Mhm.
the problem. I didn't want my baby crying. I didn't want to feel like I was neglecting him. All of that was in my
Mhm.
head. And
Mhm.
this is the other thing that really did it for me. Maybe this will help y'all. When I did the research, like when I started reading the research on like the effects of a lack of sleep for your baby,
Yes.
like, these children need sleep for their brains to develop. So
Absolutely.
when I started looking at it from a scientific, angle, that took away the emotions. That took away my feelings about it, because I'm not gonna feel so bad about you crying that I'm not gonna help you develop your brain. Like, that
Exactly.
doesn't make sense. I do
That
think
is huge.
also it's a cultural thing though too, because I remember when I was pregnant, I read Bringing Up Bebe, like a French parenting book.
Mhm.
And in France, this is what they do. They don't run to the crib at the first peep. We will literally, the baby don't even be up for real. And we in the crib looking at,
Mhm.
ready to run in and get them, and we're literally interrupting their sleep patterns. And so these are, it's just kind of how we were raised culturally. I don't know if it's a Black woman thing or not, but we real funny acting with people, hiring people to help us mother. That's even a thing. So
Yeah.
hopefully this conversation will, I'm talking to somebody, I'm stepping on some toes out
Yeah.
there, but hopefully somebody hearing this will realize that sleep is not, like, it's not optional. It's, how you are as an adult when you need some rest. So imagine the impact and effects it can have on your baby. Okay, so
Absolutely.
before we go, Jamesa, any final words, anything that moms need to know? Like, what do they need to know before they call you? What do they need to be doing or be prepared for? What are some things that, like, they should just be aware of?
Honestly, you should just make the commitment to do this thing, right? When you go to my website and you book, a 15-minute call, that is me just listening to what is going on in your home, right? I'll ask, what does sleep currently look like in your house? And after that, I tell you what the possibilities are. Before you hit that button to schedule a call, I don't really need you to do anything, because a lot of times folks do show up hesitant. And then when they hear that I don't use cry it out or extinction, it kind of, lessens their anxiety a little more, or they decide that it's just not for them. But the first thing you have to do is just, decide whether or not how sleep is going in in your home is working for you. If it's not working for you, there is help. Sleep is not a luxury, it is a necessity. And I'll just quickly say the piece about the developmental piece. I have had so many infants who have been, 6 and 7 month olds who have not been rolling. And within the first couple days of us working together, they are starting to roll. That developmental piece is so key. Sleep will stunt developmental growth in your little ones. I usually like to go over how much sleep your little one needs in a 24-hour period. And sometimes people are just like, oh my God, they don't sleep anywhere near that. And it most definitely will stunt your development. It really will. So many of my clients say, after working with you, my little one is just happier, right? They're meeting all of their milestones. And to the special needs piece, I have a colleague who did work with a child who had special needs, and they saw an improvement in her verbal language as a result of getting more sleep. Right? There's so much of our health that is tied to sleep and rest, and so if you are on the fence, all you have to do is just make the commitment, and even if it's a half commitment, I will coach you through it. I am you go to the gym and you have a trainer to be able to tell you all the things. I will be your trainer, your sleep trainer,
Let me
and
pause
we
you
can do
there.
this.
I just have to say, she ain't lying. Okay. When I tell you she will be on your phone, so thorough. I have worked with so many coaches, right? The internet
Mhm.
has made people really afraid to hire a coach because everybody
Yeah,
be out here. But when I tell you, this woman will overcoach you. You will be like, okay, now, okay, he's asleep now. All right, now, what now? You checking in again? But that's what you need, especially going through something
yeah,
like this. Literally like a daily, like a lifestyle change. You're literally
yeah,
changing your life. And so the way that you are so active and so attentive and so supportive, it's so needed because it's my baby. Like I
yeah.
I'm taking this real personal. This is, really, really special to me. And so the way that you work with your clients, I think it is hands down
Thank
phenomenal.
you.
That is why I am always eager, excited to tell people about you. And they come back and are like,
Yeah.
girl, she saved my life. So for the people who need their lives saved, please let them know where they can follow you on Instagram and how they can find you online.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Facebook at Sweet Sleep Co. SUITE Sleep CO. On Instagram at Sweet Sleep Co. SUITE SLEEPCO. And in my bio, there's a link tree. You can go to my website, see a little bit about me, and you can actually click the link in my link tree to directly book your 15-minute call. Everything that you need to know about the process, how much it costs, what we do is on that website. And if you're on the fence, I had somebody cold call me yesterday. So if you even Google Sweet Sleep Code, my phone number comes up. If you're not kind of tech savvy, you can literally just call me on the phone, and we'll be able to help you. No sleep don't have to be your life is one of the last things that I'll say, because there is hope on the other side, for sure. And I just want to thank you so much for having me today.
Of course. Look, the people need you. Okay. I am, and this is not, let me also say, I don't have no affiliate code. I don't have no referral fee.
No.
I'm trying to listen, y'all need this. Okay. Trust me. And one last thing that I'll say, I also paid for the Taking Care of Babies class. But I think that's probably one of the
Hmm.
most popular kind of
Yeah.
just DIY log on and do it. This is not, at least for me, and I'm a DIY girl, but this is not a DIY thing. This was very much so
No.
I needed you on my line. Like, okay, what do I do now? Okay, well, this worked, but then he did this. This is such a supportive system and process that you have that I just know that you are the solution to so many people's stress. So hit
Thank
her up,
you.
okay? Sweet Sleep Co. Check her out. Check out her link tree. If y'all need a review, y'all just got a testimonial from me. I'm sure you have plenty more clients and testimonials and reviews to give you that stamp of approval. She is the sleep expert, y'all. I have given her that title. She ain't claiming it, but I'm giving it to her.
I
Thank y'all so much
receive it.
And yes, receive it, girl. Get your flowers because you deserve them. Thank y'all for tapping
Thank you so
in
much.
to Girl Stop Playin. Make sure you subscribe. Share this episode with a mom, okay? Please, whether
Mhm.
you think she needs it or not. If you know someone with a baby, share this episode, all right? I love you. I'll catch you next week. Peace. So if you made it this far, I just know you loved that episode. Well, what you did not know is that we recorded it right here in ATL at Elevate Studios. Yes, your girl has her own studio, y'all, and it's not just for me. I'm opening it up for you too. So if you have a podcast, if you are a vlogger, a YouTuber, or a content creator, and you are looking for a professional studio to record your content, or you want to hire me and my team to fully produce your content, make sure you check out the show notes below or log on to elevateagency.com.